So this particular video is over marathon training over 40. So if you're over 40 years old and you're training and preparing for these races, I commend you. I respect you. I just recently turned 47 myself, so I fully understand how tough it is, especially to be training in your 40s versus if you were in your 20s or 30s. And what's incredible is what some of these athletes out there are doing. I just recently read about a 60-year-old from Spain who set a new world record running 2:34 as a 60-year-old. And what was more impressive that I read about him as well is when he was 59, he ran a 2:27 marathon. This is not the norm, but it just shows you as an athlete of what you are capable of, even as an older athlete, more experienced athlete. And to be honest with you, it really inspires me as well. I mean, I haven't ran a marathon in 13 years. My last marathon was the 2013 California International Marathon. I was 37. I ran 2:32:56, I believe was my finish time. And it's been several years since I ran a marathon. But what was really interesting about this gentleman, and I'll leave the link about this guy's background in the description below this video, is he had a 16-year gap away from the sport. He took 16 years away from the sport. He has a PR of, I think it was 2:13:57 that he ran back in, I think, in the early 90s. And he was, in the early 90s, he made the 1992 Barcelona Olympic team for Spain. So this guy's obviously very established, very strong. But it just was very impressive to know that he took 16 years away from the sport and then came back in his first year as a 48-year-old, based on what the article says. And again, I'll leave that link below. He ran a 2:27 at age 59 in his first year back competing. And I got to be honest, that's very, very impressive. So marathon training over 40, and in his case, over 50 and almost close to 60, running a 2:34 marathon is inspiring. It shows you that you still can run fast, even in your 40s, 50s, and even 60s. But you have to keep in mind the importance of your recovery. And I'm still training myself. I have some other things planned for 2024. But that being said, the things that I would remind you as an over 40-year-old athlete is to focus on your recovery. Make sure that if normally in the past you've given yourself maybe 24 hours of recovery after a hard workout, maybe you'll need 48 hours and up to 72 hours of recovery now. Okay. Be patient with yourself. And this doesn't go for just 40-plus-year-old athletes. It's for any athlete, regardless of age. The patience aspect is absolutely essential. If you want to be a great middle to long distance runner, you have to know that results will come, but it's not going to be quickly. Okay, you can get in phenomenal shape in a matter of a few weeks, but it's really going to take 16 to 24 weeks to really train properly for a marathon, and maybe even up to a year to really get in phenomenal racing shape. And so keep those things in mind. Also, nutrition. Most athletes don't know anything about glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. And I'll leave some information about glutathione in the link below. And NAC, that NAC is another supplement you may want to look into as well, which helps the body produce glutathione. And a lot of times athletes run low on iron. So if you're over 40 years old and you're not paying attention to ferritin and iron, look up some information, look up some Google articles about the role that ferritin and iron play in the body. And iron is very essential for your cellular health and your body's ability to transport oxygen throughout the body. So a lot of times we sweat so much, foot strike hemolysis. So every time your foot strikes the ground as a runner, as much running as we do, you'll burst red blood cells in the bottom of your foot every time your foot strikes the ground. So that's another key thing to keep in mind is the nutrition. Obviously, if you're training for the marathon distance, over 40 years old, also really pay attention to those faster long runs I talk about. don't get so caught up in just running slow and easy every weekend. Again, that is still very important. Okay, I'm not saying that running easy for long periods of time isn't essential, because it is. But just keep in mind, if you're trying to run a faster marathon, you want to make sure you're really improving the body's lactate tolerance, and that's not going to happen by running easy and relaxed every single weekend. Alternate it. Varied pace means if running at VO2 max, running at your anaerobic threshold effort, running anywhere for anaerobic threshold, that might mean around 85 to 88% of your max heart rate. Spending some time at VO2 max effort sprinkled in throughout that long run, around 95 to 100% of your max heart rate. So that's very aggressive running. And then spending obviously very easy, relaxed jogging throughout that long run as well. So varying up the paces, getting beyond just running a nice, steady, easy, relaxed long run. Do that every other weekend, okay? Alternate it. Run faster, a faster effort long run, followed the next week by an easy, relaxed long run. As a marathoner, especially over 40, that is going to help you drop significant time, because if you haven't really paid attention to running faster at faster paces during long runs for long periods of time, 2 hours up to 3 hours long, that could be one of the reasons why you've been stagnated and you haven't really made significant impacts on your previous personal best, or maybe you've been stuck in a plateau. Doing something like that, changing it up, is very important. But also pay attention to your hydration, especially as an older athlete. We really have to pay attention to how much fluid we're intaking during our long runs. What I always do, what I've done throughout my career, especially training for marathons, is I would always drop water bottles out every 3 miles or every 5 kilometers or so along my long run route. That way I could drink on my way out and I could drink on my way back. And also practice ingesting some gels as well, because again, you're gonna want to do that in training, so that when you're better prepared as you go into your goal marathon, finding out how much your stomach can ingest in terms of fluid, in terms of calories, and practice that. Get better at doing that, and you're going to become a much better marathoner. And that doesn't matter if you're over 40 or if you're in your 20s or you're going to run your debut. Doesn't matter. But especially for athletes over 40 years old, mindset. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe in your ability to continue to run at fast paces, but you have to train your mind as you've trained your body. Okay, that example of that athlete I mentioned, who's now 60 years old, who recently ran a 2:34 marathon at 60 years old and a 2:27 marathon at age 59 after a 16-year break from the sport. That is a example of the fact that you and I can still run at fast paces, but we have to visualize, we have to see ourselves doing something that maybe right now you and I don't even believe we can do. I still have very big goals as an athlete, and I won't openly discuss them, but I see that's a great example. That truly inspired me reading about this guy. And he's just one example of thousands of other athletes around the world that are running really incredible times in their 40s and 50s and 60s. I think the world record for like around the 45 age group, I think, is anywhere from like around 209 to 212. So it's really incredible. We're in a sport where we really can continue to run fast times. But again, you have to be willing to put in the work and be driven and be motivated, and to see yourself achieving the goal that you believe in your heart that you can actually achieve. And so you have to train the body and train the mind equally, and not just focus all your attention on physical training. I hope that makes sense. If you have any other questions regarding racing over 40 or marathon training in general, feel free to leave me a comment below. I will definitely reach back out to you. I do have some background in this sport. I've been running since I was 15 years old. And recently, like I mentioned, I recently turned 47. So I've been at it for a while. And I just know that consistency and being persistent and driven to succeed in whatever goal you have in mind, whether it's running related or business related or something that you're going after, if you stay focused and you believe in what you're doing and you're willing to do it over a long period of time, you're going to get the results you're seeking. So I wish you guys and gals all the very best in your training. I hope this video about marathon training over 40 was helpful for you. And again, if you have any other questions or concerns about your training or something I missed or something you want a little bit more elaboration on, feel free to leave me a comment below. Like and share these videos. I really appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so when I make a new video, you'll be notified of it. And I wish you guys and gals all the very best in your training, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.